When he was 12 years old, his mother said, "What are we going to do with you?" And he brought that prayer before God. And I think she found him later crying underneath the dining room table because he had a vision. He had a vision. He knelt down underneath the dining room table and said, "God, what are they going to do with me?" And he had a vision. He had a vision of the Blessed Virgin. And she came to him and offered him 2 crowns, a white crown and a red crown. And she said, "Which one will you choose?" And he said, "I'll have both." And he interpreted that. He understood that as the white crown representing permanent virginity or permanent chastity, and the red crown is the crown of martyrdom. And because of this at a very young age, this encounter with the Blessed Virgin, he became very enamored with her and very devoted to her. And as he was growing up in Poland at the time, in the early 1900s, he recognized how indifferent people were around him. So through his continued devotion to the Blessed Virgin, he joined the Franciscan Friars, and with the Friars he started a magazine that at one time had a distribution to 750,000 people, where he encouraged full and total consecration to Jesus in and through the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And that's just one of the things he did. He also was a missionary. He traveled to Japan and started a very large Franciscan friary there. His Franciscan friary in Poland grew to 800 men, the largest one at the time. And much of this, all of this, he attributed to his devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And of course, most of us know that he was eventually arrested and sent to Auschwitz. And the story that many of us are most familiar with is that when one of the prisoners at Auschwitz escaped, 10 men were chosen to be executed. And it was a man who had a family who said, "I'm a father, please don't put me to death." And Father Colby volunteered. He said, "Take me instead." And they said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm a priest," and nothing more. So he literally gave his life to save the life of this other man. And then as he was being starved to death, naked, with 10 other men in cells, he lived for 2 weeks, 2 full weeks. And he didn't live in misery. They sang hymns of joy, hymns of celebration. He ministered to people until his death. And I think he was able to do so because he had prepared his whole life for that moment. Throughout his life, he had so fully put God and the Blessed Virgin at the center of his life. He was strengthened throughout his life. He suffered greatly, but he knew that his suffering, even his suffering, was a gift to his fellow Christians, to his gift to his fellow man and woman. He was deeply connected to the Blessed Virgin and to Christ. We too are invited to be that connected. We're all invited to love God that much so that we can go forth from this place and reflect his love to the world. So that we too may understand ourselves as friends of Christ. That we too may do all that we can to love one another as Christ has loved us.